What up, though, people? Thank you for rocking out with Woo Crew this morning. We got the legend right now, Rod Beard. I got to ask him some Lions questions right now from the Woo Crew.
And
what
his
up,
audio is up. I know it is. I know
Oh,
it is.
it is. Oh, it is. That's how we do.
Oh, let's rock. Shout out to the Eastern Michigan Zip Up, too. I like it.
That's how we roll.
That's how we roll. Well, Rod, look, we were talking about Rod Beard, sports editor-in-chief of the Detroit News. He joins us for a couple segments every Wednesday. We appreciate you for joining us. We were talking the Detroit Lions offense versus the Rams defense that has had some changes, some additions, relying on some rookies, and they lost a legend as well. The question we were asking, who will lead the Lions offense on Sunday versus the Rams?
Sun God.
Ooh.
2 words, Sun God.
Let's go.
I think they will be able to pick apart that defensive backfield, and Sun God is just going to show why he's one of the top 5 receivers in the league.
Hey, you know,
Crazy.
he's saying that's why he got kind of like a little halo behind him, too. Show that one side again, a ride. Look at that. Look at that. Let's rock, man.
Oh, and to piggyback on this Rams-Lions talk, how much of a loss is it going to be for the Rams losing an Aaron Donald, and how badly can the Lions' offensive line exploit that?
Well, you don't have to double team in the middle anymore, and that was just a given. You just knew you had to do some type of combo scheme or something to make sure Aaron Donald didn't get started and didn't get that head of steam going in the interior of that line. And now you can sort of play more standard stuff and not have to scheme specifically that way. I think that's going to open up a little bit more and allow you to be more free and give you a little bit more time there in some of those cases where you can find your receivers.
Hey, Rod, great to see you again. Thanks for joining us today. I want to ask you on a David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Matt, you're doing stuff with Terry, man. It's good to see you.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I'm excited for Woodward and Maine with Terry. We're going to have a good time. But David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, we were talking about them earlier. Who do you think is going to have a bigger impact in this game, specifically game 1 versus the Rams?
I think it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs and just the versatility out of the backfield that you can run him, but he's not a 25 carries per game back. But just that you can split him out wide when you need to, I think that's going to prove effective. That you, again, spreading out that defense and making them choose which poison they want is going to be the key there. And I think you're going to find enough Gibbs opportunities where he'll be able to pile up some yards for you.
Big day for Gibbs. I 100% agree with that. But there's another team that not enough offensive players had big days, and that is Michigan football. Are you concerned with what you saw on Saturday, or do you think a lot of us are overreacting and Michigan is going to be fine?
Very concerned because that offensive line did not look good one bit. If you can't run the ball, you're not really Michigan. You're some team posing as Michigan. But if you can't throw the ball and you can't pass pro either, you as an offensive line for a ranked team or any college team worth their salt, you've got to do one or the other well, either pass pro or run block. And if you can't do either or you're mediocre at each one, then you're just not going to do well against a good team. If they had an easier schedule where they had Arkansas State this week and they could sort of build up to it, I feel a little bit better that there were more reps in there for them. But Texas is always known for having a good defensive line that is going to be tough to run on. And if Davis Warren is forced to get back there and pass, you've got to create time for him to do it, and they don't have the receiving core that they've had in recent years. It's just going to be tough both ways for them. They've got to figure it out on the fly in game to be able to get some yards and to be able to be effective against Texas's front.
Hey, Ryan, and to follow up with the Michigan topic, I got to ask you about the running backs. Of course, Donovan Edwards, he struggled in this first game of the season, and this is something that we've seen in the past, although he has flashed great ability. But before, he was the number 2 back. Now, this is his show. We also saw Khalil Mullins have a better day on the ground, and he's more of the prototypical runner that we saw from a Blake Corum or Hassan Haskins. Do you think they should give serious consideration to maybe making Khalil Mullins the lead back and putting Donovan Edwards back in that number 2 role, or do you think that he can be a 3-down back?
I don't know if it's even a 1 and a 2. It might be a 1A and a 1B. That Mullins is the traditional prototypical back that they have that has some weight to him and that you can give the ball to 25 times. The problem is you've got, just like with last season when you had Corum and you had that same type of setup, you had to find touches for Donovan Edwards, and I think they're in that same position now. You've got to find, you can't just not give him the ball. He's going to break one. And they saw that in the playoffs last year, that you've got to put him in position to help you, but you've also got to be able to move the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to get those first downs on the ground. So it's tricky in that way, is you've got to utilize him in the best way that you can. And it is not necessarily in the backfield. You got to split him out. You got to put him in different places where you can put him in space and he can be effective.
Yes. And Rod, what is your level of confidence that Michigan will actually be able to beat Texas on Saturday at home?
Single digits.
Zero.
Single digits. Unless you show me that line they're going to have to pass protect and run the ball, and Davis Warren's going to have to be accurate and effective, and you're going to need Donovan Edwards to do something else for you, and it's going to take a Samaj Morgan or somebody. They need a lot of ands, and we haven't even gotten to the defensive side of the ball. You've got to hold Texas to 17-ish points. Do you feel confident they're going to score 17 plus against Texas? I don't know.
Happen.
I don't know. I think that's the type of situation that you're looking at, is they've got to be a completely different team that shows up on Saturday to beat Texas, period. But also your defense has got to play a little bit better too.
Oh man, you know what, Rod? As Flannel asked you that question and you began to answer, I saw like a little gleam of optimism just start to melt off of his face. I know Broder gonna ask you a question too. I'm wondering if it's gonna be more of the same.
It might be, because I want to see, are you more confident that Michigan beats Texas or that the Tigers actually clinch that final wild card berth?
Oh,
That's tough.
The four teams in front of them, they lost yesterday. So the teams on their off day helped them out. But again, what is it, 22 games left, 4.5 games back?
Ooh. Broder, this is a Flannel Sam question. What are you doing? This isn't cute. We get along. We're simpatico.
I know it's a tricky one. It's an outside shot for both.
He's a Michigan man that played baseball.
I feel more confident that the Tigers make the wild card.
Wow.
Look at Flannel.
Wow.
And Michigan beating Texas. I just don't feel it. I don't feel it at all.
So let me piggyback off of that really quick.
Man.
Do you think the Tigers are now 4.5 out? They've lost 3 out of their last 5, but they didn't lose any ground. Is this a real race for the Tigers? Is this something that they have a chance to actually win a wild card spot, or is this all smoke and mirrors and a fugazi and more looking towards the future?
This is a Flannel Sam question.
Fugazi.
We're back to what I'm used to now. So I'll say it this way. The Tigers' schedule is the reason that I'm a little bit more questioning this one. They got some games against the A's, but then you've got a tough little stretch against Baltimore, KC, and Baltimore again, where you have the opportunity to make up some of that ground if they play well in that kind of 2-week span. But then you finish up against the White Sox, and that's the opportunity. If you get a sweep there, you can make up a game and a half or 2 games in that final weekend of the season. So that's why I think it's possible, but they've got to at least play well. Michigan has a one shot, and that's the other deal here. You have one game, and if you have a bad first quarter, it's done. It's just completely done. At least in the Tigers' case, you have a couple of weeks where you can figure this out. And we were talking about them. We were doing last rights on the Tigers a few weeks ago that they were 9 games out, and now they've been able to make that up and cut that thing to in half. So now, can they do that again? I think the odds of that are a little bit better than Michigan being a different team than what we saw on Saturday.
Hey, Rod, and I know we up against the break, but I got 2 quick questions to ask you. The first one being, you know the Rams are coming to town, prime time football, and I feel it's important for the Lions to get this dub to kind of solidify their 1-point playoff win from last year against this team. In your opinion, is it important for the Lions to get this victory to open the season, or is it no big deal if they so happen to lose this game for any reason?
I'd say it's no big deal because it doesn't kill their season. I think we talked about expectations before, and I don't think this is a Super Bowl or bust year, but I think it can set fans' expectations back to a reasonable level if they lose this game to say, look, this is a long season. They're not going 17-0. but let's keep everything in perspective here. I don't think they need to win it, but it would certainly help their cause if they did.
All right, and my second question, since this is the last time we will see you before the Lions season officially kicks off, give me your season prediction on wax right now. Win-loss, what is it?
11-6.
11-6. Woo, okay.
11-6.
Does that win the NFC North?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
That's all I care about.
All right.
Let's go.
think that's
There we go.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Everybody's heart stopped for a second.
Yeah, I was like, that's one win less than last year. Like, oh, boy.
That's what our psyche this morning, Rod. You know what?
First, it's a first place schedule. First place schedule is a little bit different than they had last year.
And you want to be fair on that. This is why I love these segments, being able to get the perspective of the sports editor-in-chief from the Detroit News. It's not just his great sports mind, but all the other great kind of reporters and writers that are at the Detroit News as well.